Phones. Here we go.
All right.
Let's rock and roll.
We are in business. We're rocking and rolling.
Oh,
it's all good.
It's all good.
Share
It's
the
always
road,
good. I'm
share
used
the
to
mic.
it. Thank you guys for pouring this. Let's go ahead and toast.
Yes.
Was you toasting water?
No, I had my alcohol.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers down there.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers
Ready?
to Facebook.
We are ready. Let's do
5,
this.
4, put the mic right in front of you. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Dana Being Dana. I am your host, Dana Michelle, and I am so excited to have such great friends of mine here tonight because we are talking about narcissists. Narcissists are like X-Men, Wakandans from Black Panther. They are roaming around in our midst, but we can't always tell who they are. But we're going to try to demystify some of these things about narcissists today and get to the bottom of some of it. Today's show is sponsored by Gary Harris Private Client Group, www.ghprivateclientgroup.com. Their number is 800-558-9767. A couple of things to anticipate throughout the hour. We've got a quiz to tell if you are dating a narcissist, how to spot one, and most importantly, how to recover and how to get out. But before we get into the definition of a narcissist, well, I want to introduce my panel. First, we've got Dr. Sandy. She has been here before. She's our resident therapist, and she's fantastic. So just say hello.
Good evening.
Thank
Happy
you.
to be here, Dana.
Thank you for being here. And we're gonna share Dr. Sandy's info and how you can get in touch with her to talk about your own narcissist. Nikita, from the Bravo hit show To Rome for Love, girl. I am so excited for you.
Hey,
You are fantastic.
Thank you.
I love watching you and just watching you live your life out loud. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. It's going to be a great discussion. My girl Jordan is here. Jordan is, not only is she a therapist, but she is also my trainer at Orange Theory. So I'm just so happy to have you here, and I can't wait to hear all of the nuggets that you're going to share. You've got gaslighting coming up. I can't wait to hear your thoughts and just your points on that. And we've got my friend Reba. Reba is a very good friend of mine, has truly been there for me when I was going through my divorce and just some of the other things, and just really helped me in dealing with some of the stuff that I have going on, particularly in the narcissistic space. And on the phone, who do we have?
Hi, it's Rashida. How are you?
I'm good. It's my girl Rashida calling all the way in from Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining us, Rashida. I really appreciate you being here and being on the phone with us for this fun discussion. So let's jump right in, ladies.
Fun discussion.
What is the definition of a narcissist? I've got one for you.
I mean, I was going to say, I literally
I've
have
got
it right
one.
in front of me.
Yeah,
So,
if you want to read, if you want to share
absolutely.
it, you share yours.
So it is a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior. It's a need for admiration, a lack of empathy, beginning in early adulthood, present in a variety of contexts, and they have to exhibit 5 of the following symptoms. So a grandiose sense of self-importance, preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success and power. They believe that he or she is very special or unique, and we'll kind of get into too how this actually plays out in real life. But just to give you like the therapist definition, what we go by, they also require excessive admiration. They have a sense of entitlement. They are interpersonally exploitive. They lack empathy, very envious of others, and then they're very arrogant as well.
There's a bunch of different signs, and that was packed with a whole lot that we are.
There's a whole lot.
We're going to
in there,
unpack.
yes. We're going to unpack.
We are
yes.
just getting started. We are just getting started. So, I think the word narcissism, it comes from a Greek myth in which a handsome young man, Narcissus, and he was fine, right?
He was good looking.
He saw his reflection in a
I bet
pool
he
of water.
was.
He was so good looking. He went to Orange Theory. And he falls in love with his reflection, not knowing that it's his own image. And this is according to the Cleveland Clinic. Thank you. But it's all of the things that you talked about. Being preoccupied with yourself, your own wants, your own needs, and your desires. It's a personality disorder. Mm-hmm. So there are people out there roaming these streets of Earth who are afflicted with this disorder.
Let me finish the Narcissus story. So Narcissus falls in love with his reflection in the pond, and he ends up drowning in the pond and dying.
Oh.
Kill yourself.
Cheers to that.
Kill yourself.
And let me define a personality disorder.
Please.
Right? Personality disorder is, there are categories of mental illness, and we often think of mental illness as depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. And those are ones that I think of as they are biological. The brain isn't working right. There's a group of mental illnesses called personality disorders. And personality disorders are defined as deeply ingrained maladaptive behaviors.
Say that again.
Deeply ingrained maladaptive behaviors. And where medicine will help anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, ADHD, those people with personality disorders, if they go into therapy, need a lot of therapy to recover. It is a struggle. It is a long, difficult journey for people. The most common one we hear about is borderline, which usually comes from trauma. These are people who've been severely traumatized and they develop these maladaptive behaviors. But the other ones, those are very much able to treat, but narcissism and antisocial personality disorder, better known as sociopaths, are much more difficult to treat because they don't see there's anything wrong with that.
And in many cases, they're marked with a traumatic event or experience. I've dealt with several narcissists, both in my personal life, when it comes to dating, and also in my professional life.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, for me, I date men, and so the narcissists that I've dated have been men, whereas the narcissists that I've discovered at work have actually been women.
Yep. Yes.
And so we'll get to some of that too. Love you, ladies. But what, I've obviously had more intimate conversation with the men, and I've learned that a lot of times it's been traumatic events or experiences such as bullying, divorce,
father wounds,
mother wounds.
Absolutely, that primary caregiver relationship is so important.
Correct.
As a child, and with any personality disorder, really, that's where a lot of that comes from, especially if we're talking from like an object relations perspective, right? The object is the mother, the father, that primary caregiver, and when things go wrong with that relationship, whether it's, attachment or there was a trauma, like you said, or perceived trauma.
Perceived trauma too. It doesn't have to be
trauma. Exactly.
It doesn't have to be.
That's really the key word too, because even just lack of attention to a child at that age can be a perceived trauma. So I think that's the huge point to drive home. It's what the child perceives as they're growing up and developing in those super formative years. So that's where a lot of these personality disorders really stem from.
Because I think narcissism is a coping mechanism to dealing 100%. With feeling inadequate.
Right. Yeah.
Someone didn't love them enough. Somebody bullied them. They weren't treated right. They weren't treated right. They're seeking validation, and so this is a self-importance to fill a void or a gap in what they were missing before.
Yeah, we call it the narcissistic wound. That there's this profound wounding. The narcissist creates what I consider like a veneer of perfection, and I'm all that in a bag of chips, to really hide the deep, profound wound that has happened to them. One of my favorite narcissists was a man who came in, and he had told me, first off, narcissists usually tell me their IQ first off the bat. They way overestimate it. Like, I have an IQ of 160, which is like Einstein level. Like, no, you don't. But anyhow, what had happened to him, his father was an alcoholic. It was really interesting that his dad ran over him. He was a teenager. He was going to get a full ride scholarship to college with football. And his father was so drunk, he hit him, ran over him, knew he hit something, backed up, ran over him again like 3 times, destroyed his body, so he never was able to go to college. But what he developed out of that experience was this narcissism. And, again, he said he had a, full ride scholarship to college, which he did, which was destroyed by his dad, but then an IQ of 160, and if I was a good enough therapist for him, and all kinds of things that say I'm special, I'm wonderful, I'm the grandiosity.
Yeah.
But deep inside was a profound wound.
And then all the issues were everyone else but him.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, it's everyone else's fault but his own.
Sure. Yeah.
So we've got I have 3 types of narcissists. according to my notes. And by no means am I a professional. I'm just well versed in narcissism.
I
have
narcissism.
But I've got 3 types. I've got the exhibitionist narcissist, the closet narcissist, and the toxic narcissist. Does anybody want to talk about the different types? I can go through them.
Go ahead.
Okay. You guys tell me how I do. Tell me what you think, okay? So the exhibitionist narcissist is most commonly the one that comes to mind, the one that we know of the most. They're the ones who want to be admired. They are insensitive and bossy. In relationships, they expect whoever's with them to admire them and agree with them on everything. They enjoy continual reassurance that they are perfect, special, and always right. Mm-hmm. Any comments on that?
I think you can always recognize them when they come into the room. They have to walk into the room
and be noticed.
They have to be noticed.
They can't just walk into the room. They have to be noticed.
Here he is.
They're usually the loudest one in the room.
Exactly. The loudest one in the room.
I am here. Everything can now start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You may begin.
Yeah.
The closet narcissist, by comparison, wants to be associated with someone that they admire. They tend to be the most insecure out of the different types. They feel too exposed and vulnerable to enjoy being the center of attention. They're afraid that others may see their flaws and devalue them, so they attach themselves to other people, religions, causes that they admire, so they can feel special by association. I'm a part of this. I'm of this. This is what I do. This is who I am. Yeah. In relationships, the closet narcissist tends to choose someone they see as perfect or special, and they idolize that person. They treasure any approval they get from that one that they idolize, and they may also hope that that specialness that they idolize in the other person rubs off on them. So if somebody's your hero, if somebody's your savior, if somebody's just your blessing, your godsend, because you idolize this person, people tend to attach to that. A toxic narcissist, also by comparison, this is the one who wants to dominate and make other people around them feel worthless. These are the meanies. Thank you, narcissists. They're not satisfied with being the center of attention. They instead desire to have complete dominance and control, and they want everyone to submit to them. In relationships, they make you feel as if they are better than you and that you are inferior and inadequate. If you have any self-confidence entering the relationship, it's likely to be replaced later on with self-doubt. So those are the 3 definitions I have, and I want everybody, to go ahead and react to that. Before you do, please share the show. I think this is very important that people know what's going on. Hit your share button, share the video, please. If you know of a narcissist and you want them to see the show, you can send me a direct message with their name, and I'll send them a friend request, and I will share the show later, and then they'll see it, and then they'll hear this part and know that somebody's looking out for them. But no, in all seriousness, I think this is a message that people need to hear. People were very interested in this topic. Narcissism is very pervasive. It's not just romantic. We're not over here just complaining about men or other relationships. Narcissism sucks you dry. It drains you. It sucks your energy.
Yeah.
It's like a leech. Remember the leech? Remember Stand By Me, the movie?
Yep.
Remember when they got covered with the leeches? All the leeches in Stand By Me are narcissists. And they suck your energy, your spirit. Yeah. We'll talk about what narcissists are attracted to. That's actually my next question is what are narcissists attracted to? Or you can react to the definitions that I've described.
I think I've actually seen all 3 attributes in one person.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I think that's so true, and because you can certainly be toxic. Yeah.
They are toxic.
Mm-hmm. And the exhibitions.
Yes, I just wonder how common that is. Depending on depending on I guess their environment or situation, then they turn into what I mean. They're kind of like they're chameleons. So they kind of blend into whatever situation they think they can get the most out of.
They're adaptive and opportunistic.
Extremely manipulative.
Very manipulative.
Absolutely.
When you find yourself being manipulated often and they play to that manipulation, many times there's narcissism involved.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the point to drive home too is that even if they're not like if we're looking at like a DSM, right, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, it's what therapists, psychologists all use to diagnose things. If we're looking at these criteria, there's a lot of people who are not going to meet the full criteria for this disorder, but they have some traits. It doesn't mean that it's not incredibly, destructive to a relationship or to a person. So I think that it's good to be aware of anybody in your life who has any of these traits, because it becomes abusive is what happens. And so, if we're not meeting like 1 through 5, right, or 1 through 6, if we're not like checking off the boxes, it doesn't mean that you're not in a relationship that's extremely harmful to you. So I think it's good to look at the whole big picture.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We've got our quiz coming up, so you can determine if you are in a relationship with a narcissist. I think narcissists are attracted to givers.
Oh yeah.
I think by nature, narcissists are takers. They want you to take care of them. They want you to give to them. They want to see what you can do
to them.
Cater to them. They want to see what you can do for them. So by nature, I think narcissists target givers. I think they also target people who have been codependent.
100%.
Can you guys tell me what codependency is?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let me explain codependency first. Codependency really comes out of addiction counseling, working with addicts and their family. The codependent is the person who really enables the dependent person, the person dependent on the substance or the process. But there's two things. Let me backtrack. There's substance people who are what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, addicted to substance or addicted to a process. Substance would be alcohol, obviously heroin, cocaine, whatever. The process, gambling, shopping, sex. Sex is
social media.
Totally.
Social media.
You can be addicted to anything.
Food. So
radio.
It's not a substance, it's everything else people can get addicted to. And so, I lost my train of thought again.
So what codependency? It's okay.
Codependency comes out of alcoholism, as we talk about that. And that is classically the person who enables the alcoholic. And what they do, how I define it, I think best definition is a person who is codependent helps the dependent person to the point where it hurts them.
At their own expense.
And I don't mean inconvenience, because we all help people who it inconveniences. Someone's sick
to
and
their own
say,
detriment.
I'll take you to the doctor. But codependency is detriment. It's not inconvenience.
You're missing
detriment.
work.
You're missing
because
work.
you're helping someone else, and you have no work to miss.
I can tell you a great story from my own life. My father was an alcoholic. My mother one time didn't want him, no, they're both depression era, so she didn't want him to drink the bottle of whiskey. So to not waste it, she drank the whole bottle. My mother did not drink. She drank the whole bottle. I was about 5 years old, and I remember my mother being incredibly sick and vomiting, and then she drank this whole bottle of alcohol.
To protect him.
So he wouldn't drink.
So he wouldn't drink
She
it.
couldn't throw it away, though.
That's codependency.
That's codependency.
It's codependency. And so a lot of times, I believe narcissists are attracted to givers.
Oh, yeah.
People
very
who are
sensitive people.
sensitive people.
I think another thing too with codependency is if you find that you completely lose yourself in another person, you lose your sense of self. So if you've ever been in a relationship, or maybe you're in a relationship now where you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore.
I've lost my sense of self.
That is a sign that you are in a codependent relationship.
Yes. Which is equally unhealthy, separate and apart from narcissism. So many times narcissists and codependents coexist, and they find each other.
They smell each other out.
They sniff each other out, and it's
peanut butter and jelly.
There you go, peas and carrots. So yeah, I think that's. I also think it's people who narcissists are, I believe, opportunists by nature, and so they look for people who are successful, wealthy, powerful, something that they have that they seek people who have something that they want.
Right, because by association it makes them feel better about themselves.
Exactly.
They have this sense of
entitlement,
but they
entitlement
have
and status,
a sense of emptiness inside of them that they need to fill. And if they can't do it themselves, they'll leech onto these other people who will do it for them.
Very true. And
you have something you want to say?
Yeah, no, it's funny. You're basically painting a situation that I was in. So once I recently, once I got divorced, I tried to date again. But at the time, I was suffering from low self-esteem and depression. So I come across a gentleman who, and not sounding, like I'm all that, but
you are.
He's not.
You are. Nikita is all that.
But he was not what I'll say he was not what I was used to. You understand what I'm saying? It's like he's not the caliber of guy. And I decided to take a chance on him anyway. And, once we started to date, I remember one day, because he was a truck driver, independent, was what I thought. I was like, why don't you come and see me? And I remember him asking me, well, will you pay me for my time?
What?
I'm like, where they do that at?
What does that mean?
They do that in Wakanda. If you pay money, they will come and be your man.
I'm like, where they do that at? But okay, of course I checked and he's always just playing ha 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 ha. But yeah. Because as time went by, what I noticed that he did was he utilized my insecurities because he got to know me against me. Nobody's gonna want you. You gain weight. You have kids.
Boy, bye.
Divorce. Stuff like that.
They
so
use
it got
to
to
their
the point. Yeah. So it got to the point where, and it was what you were saying. I found myself doing things for him because I was too busy trying to, almost like
compensate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
trying to prove your worth.
Exactly. So yeah. So it's just crazy when I heard and when you put it in a definition. I'm like, man, that wasn't me.
I see some of your questions coming through, and I'm sorry my computer is on the fritz, but we will answer your questions. Everybody, so please continue to ask questions, comment. We will definitely answer all of them after the show. I want to talk about children of narcissists. There are signs that, and I also think, let me back up. Do you think narcissism is hereditary? They say that.
I know a whole family of them.
Yes. Because I think a lot of it can be learned behavior.
I agree with you.
I dated somebody whose mother was a narcissist, and that's the way that he was raised, because he had a traumatic event, which was divorce and bullying, and he too, had this self-importance, which was his coping mechanism for how to deal with the divorce of his parents, and that came from his mother, who had her own self-esteem issues from feeling like the black sheep in her family from her parents. And so it was learned behavior of you're so great, you're so amazing. What's that? You're beautiful, you're smart, you're important, and someone likes you. And that was learned because they saw the parents in the mirror on the wall.
Yeah.
Well, it's like any personality trait. I mean, you are a product of your environment to some extent, right? So, let's say, for those of us who don't have personality disorders, right? You're still similar to one parent, or both parents in some ways.
Both parents,
definitely. I
hear all the time, oh, you're so much like. I won't say which parent. I love you, mom and dad. But I hear so much all the time, like, oh, you're so much like this parent, and when I work with clients and I meet their parents, or if I work with their parents too, you can totally tell that there's a similarity. So I'm totally
absolutely
with that.
So here's some signs that you were raised by a narcissist. At times during your childhood, you felt that you were more your parents' partner than their child. The child spends most of their time putting out fires or trying to keep a particular parent from getting angry at the family. If you find yourself always trying to manage the anger of a parent, chances are you were raised by a narcissist. If you derive your self-worth solely from your achievements, I think my father was a narcissist, and I think that one of the things that I did as a coping mechanism was I was always working really hard in school. I worked hard to get good grades. I was always studious, all those types of things.
I can explain that.
Yeah, please.
What happens, oftentimes, one of the sayings in therapy circles is that narcissists create borderline, but narcissists create borderline personality disorder. One of the main features of borderline personality disorder is the fear of abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
So when a parent is full of themselves and only really cares about themselves, that leaves the child feeling that they're not cared for.
Mm-hmm.
And what kids do universally is they take responsibility for that.
You always
if
do.
only I was prettier,
Mm-hmm.
smarter,
Mm-hmm.
more athletic, more musical, more this, thinner, taller, then maybe my parents would love me.
Yeah.
Let me add in
Or my
that.
parents will get back together,
Oh,
or they will
divorce,
love each
yes.
other.
Yes.
A lot
Addiction,
of yeah.
Addicts are narcissists because they put the substance before the needs.
Say
of
that
their-
again.
Addicts are narcissists because they put the needs of their whims and desires before the needs of their children, their family, their spouses. And so then they create children who are lost or striving to be perfect, and in an effort to win, the love of the narcissist, but also to take responsibility. If I were a better little girl, maybe my daddy wouldn't drink and my daddy would love me.
I can fix this.
I can fix
I
it.
can solve
See,
this.
It gives the child power.
Yeah.
If they say, oh, there's something wrong with dad, that is a horrible position psychologically because it means then that the person you are dependent upon for survival does not care.
Right.
So it's better to say, I have some power in this, therefore it's me and I can change me.
I can fix this.
I can fix this.
So let's take the quiz. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please share the show. Again, hit your little share button. Share the show. Let's find out these narcissists. Let's get them some healing. Jordan and Dr. Sandy are going to give out their information at the end of the show. They're going to tell you where you can go to talk about all this narcissism that's going on. So let's go ahead with the quiz. Have you been in a relationship or are you in a relationship with a narcissist? We've got 5 questions. Are you ready? Drum roll. So number 1, does the person act as if life revolves around him or her? Does the person act as if life revolves around him or her? Number 2, do you have to compliment him or her to get their attention or approval? Do you have to compliment him or her to get their attention or approval? 3, does he or she constantly steer the conversation back to them? You're talking about something about the weather, and then they want to interject something about themselves. It's not about you. Do they constantly steer the conversation always back to them? 4, do they downplay your feelings or interests?
Mm-hmm.
Do they downplay your feelings or interests? And lastly, if you disagree with them, do they become cold or withholding? Mm-hmm. Do they become cold or withholding if you disagree with them? If you answered yes to 1 or 2 of these questions, it's likely that you are dealing with a narcissist. Responding yes to 3 or more of these questions, here we go, this is the catch, ready? Yes to 3 or more of these questions suggests that a narcissist is violating your emotional freedom. And I think that's very important. And we're going to talk more about how you spot a narcissist, what some of the traits and qualities are. But before we do that, I want to quickly just touch on a couple of different categories with respect to narcissism and sociopaths. Does anybody want to talk about some of the differences between narcissists and sociopaths?
I consider myself the sociopath whisperer.
Yes. Yes. The sociopath whisperer here on Dana B and Dana.
I love it.
Dr. Sandy.
And I'll let Jordan do the narcissist part.
Perfect.
All right, sociopaths. So sociopaths are narcissistic, but they take it up a notch. They just like to add a little extra to it, such as lying. They break social norms or laws. They have no conscience. They do not bond. They do not love. We estimate that 1 out of 25 people in this country is a sociopath. The official
1 out of
term,
how many?
1 out of 25.
1 out of 25 people
1 out of 25.
is a sociopath. So they're not all serial killers.
No, because
It's a-
like every illness, every disorder, even high blood pressure, you can have mild hypertension, you can have severe hypertension. You can be a mild diabetic, you can be a brittle diabetic. You can have a mild personality disorder, you can have a severe personality disorder. And so we often think of sociopaths as the ex-murderer, or the person who is just creating mayhem everywhere. A sociopath, we need to do a whole show on sociopaths.
We can.
We
Coming
will.
soon
We will.
on Dana being Dana.
We could do a whole show on that.
A whole show on that.
Yeah.
Because, like, not to get political, but we do have people in the White House who are sociopaths.
And narcissists.
And narcissists.
For sure.
At the
And
same
when
time.
they get power, they're very destructive. Saddam Hussein, Hitler,
Yeah.
Mussolini,
100%.
Fidel Castro, I can go on and on. A sociopath cannot love. And one of the things they're really good at is lying because they do not feel guilt, so they don't have a
They don't
tell.
feel guilt.
They don't feel
They
guilt.
don't feel good. And I think
Narcissists.
the book that Jordan held up, The Sociopath Next Door, and we've got a ton of resources for you,
Yeah.
which we will share at the end of the show. We'll share them with the book titles and all that, so you guys can look up some of these books and definitely get you some self-help, or you can call Jordan, or you can call Dr. Sandy. But one of the ways you can identify a sociopath is someone who is always seeking pity.
Pity and power.
Pity and power. So
Power,
what they
that's
do is they play the woe is me. They play the sympathy card. They're always looking for your pity.
They're martyrs.
Yes, they're martyrs, they're victims.
And here's the Dr. Sandyism. Don't chase a martyr. You will lose.
That's
You
true.
will always lose.
You will. And that's what sociopaths do. That's one way you can tell a sociopath from a narcissist is someone who is always playing the victim. They're always seeking your pity. There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
So that's one way to spot a sociopath. And knowing that from reading that book, it comes. I mean, it's you can tell.
Yes,
you
you
can
can.
easily tell
Yes, you
because the excuse is always like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Wait a minute, hold up. So that's a good thing. So with respect to sociopaths, female narcissists, because a lot of times people think narcissist is just a male thing, and it's not. I do believe that most narcissists are men.
It is more prevalent.
It's more prevalent in men,
absolutely.
but you can have female narcissists. And what I said
Absolutely.
earlier
And
is that
Dr. Sandy and I were talking about this right before the show too, that like what we often find, and I'll actually give a little plug to one of my graduate school instructors, Jim Durr, because I
hey
love him.
Jim, we love you, Jimmy.
Hey Jim, if you're watching.
Can we call you Jimmy?
Dr. Sandy's daughter knows Jim. But what we were talking about is that oftentimes the female phenotype of narcissistic personality disorder is actually borderline personality disorder. So, because typically in borderline personality disorder, it's typically more prevalent among females.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the same traits. It is not, exactly one for one, but it's definitely very similar. So we see a lot of that, but it's not to say that you can't have a little bit of both. So.
And sociopaths or antisocial personality disorders, both genders,
Yeah,
clearly.
absolutely.
I've worked with people victimized by both genders
Mhm.
over and over again. And so that particular personality disorder does not discriminate.
Narcissists and sociopaths are not just romantically destructive. They also exist in the friendship space.
100%.
Yes.
And you can have narcissistic friends, sociopathic friends, who also tend to suck the life out of you, right?
Because everyone is an object to meet their own needs.
Right.
I mean, it's completely self-serving.
And I think it comes up more so, for example, when a narcissist is single. Right? So they don't have. I think the primary victim, if you will, is somebody who's romantically tied to these people. But when they're single, who do they leech and latch onto is their friends. Friends, family, anybody they can get their hands on. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic to experience what it feels like to be friends with a narcissist. Or, once again, they shift all of those needs to a friend. It's all about them. They want you to do for them, take care of them, idolize them, make them feel special, all of those types of things. They take. And so you can also be friends with a narcissist and be duped in some ways, be drained, and you're like, I feel like am I dating you? Because it's taking that
Yeah.
life out of me
Yep.
as if this was a romantic relationship. And I think that's equally important to focus on, because a lot of times people think about this as in a romantic context, and it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic for it to exist and to be damaging.
A healthy relationship, here's the Sandyism, you've heard it before. A healthy relationship is one where each person in the relationship is encouraged to reach their full potential. If it's a marriage, a friendship, parent-child, each person is encouraged to reach their full potential. If someone's trying to tear you down, then you're not in a healthy relationship.
So let's talk about a relationship with a narcissist. How do you spot a narcissist? They don't have a little tattoo on their lip from Wakanda. They don't wear any special sign or t-shirt or badge. How do you spot a narcissist? I have a list.
I was going to say, like, I think we've covered a lot of them too, but I think a lot of them are like, you know, they associate with people of high status or power. So if they're constantly seeking to be, you know, noticed, or, you know, around well-known people in the community, or anyone that they perceive that is going to somehow elevate their social status, right? A big one for me is the defense mechanism, projection. So I feel that their number one defense mechanism is projection. So whatever is going on internally for them, they will project onto other people. So for example, they're the one having an affair, but they're accusing you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
I think that pretty much goes without saying.
Yes.
Right?
That one right there.
So,
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about gaslighting.
Yeah.
So I've got a list. So stay tuned. We're gonna dive all up in gaslighting. But I want to just share the list that I have, that I put together with respect to how do you spot a narcissist. First of all, a narcissist has no idea that they are narcissistic.
That's why they drown in the pond.
Yes, they have no. So everybody's walking around like, I'm not a narcissist. They have no idea that they're narcissistic. So if somebody's walking around telling you that they're not a narcissist, don't be fooled. Pay attention. Men are, like we said, men are more likely to be narcissists than women. Although female narcissists exist. They're very charismatic.
Oh yeah.
It is hot and heavy and amazing in the beginning. The charm, the wit, all of that is just woo. Yes. Don't be fooled. Pay attention. Stay woke. We're going to keep going through the list. Appearance is everything. Narcissists often tend to be materialistic or shopaholics to display high status.
Yes.
They have very high self-esteem. They're often found in leadership roles. They want to be, they're either in leadership roles or they talk about
White House.
White House. They talk about being in leadership roles. I mean, we definitely think Trump is a narcissist and a sociopath as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Narcissists always manage to make conversations about themselves. You find yourself talking about your day, your situation, your thing, and you're like, how do we end up, how talking about you? How did this come back to you? You may be dating or talking to a narcissist.
You think you have it bad.
Right.
Something I'd like to add, very often they do very romantic gestures. You think,
Grandiose.
oh my God. Well, but you have to be
That's the key word.
careful because they, like roses at the office, or things that you think, oh my gosh, this is very romantic, but really they do those romantic gestures to bring praise to themselves.
The grand gestures.
So in a relationship, everyone else looks at you like, oh my gosh, you have such a romantic partner. But it's like, but it's because they've displayed that for public praise,
Right.
not because they cherish you and they're doing it for you.
And you know that because they usually throw it right back in your face.
It's the
Like
motive.
all I've done for you, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
the motive.
Yeah.
They're often loud and the braggy type. So people who are always talking about themselves and their accomplishments. A lot of times they talk about what they used to do and how amazing they are. And the high school quarterback, and he's 50, right? Talking about high school, right? No, narcissist. Narcissists can also be the shy type, but generally speaking, they're often loud and braggy. Guilty of name dropping for self-promotion or making themselves appear better. I did this, I know this person, I do this, blah, blah, blah. Not every story that a narcissist tells is one of victory. When they do talk about tragedy, or failure, there's an air of entitlement and victimization. Woe is me. Pity. The pity. The martyr. Feel sorry for me. Feel bad for me. I've gone through this. It's so hard. Woe is me. Feel bad. They appear to have a broad network of friends, sometimes even social media friends, with not a single bad picture online. They're strongly adverse to receiving criticism. It's hard to give constructive criticism to a narcissist, and it's received well. That's great. I see that. I receive that. I take that. Many times, if there's aversion to criticism, you may be dealing with a narcissist. Me? Wrong? What?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
It's you.
Everything is personal. Yeah. Narcissists are very defensive and very reactive with anger. Very defensive, a lot of anger. If you find yourself resorting to flattery with a narcissist just to keep the peace, chances are you're dealing with a narcissist. If you're dealing with somebody and you're great, you're so amazing, just to keep it calm, just to keep the peace, chances are in many ways you're dealing with a narcissist.
Are you walking on eggshells all of the time?
All the time.
Yes.
All the time.
Do they make you hate yourself? That's one of my diagnostic criteria. If I spend an hour with someone and I hate myself, I'm thinking, it's probably a narcissist. If I spend an hour with them and I hate them, it's probably a sociopath.
Yeah.
That's perfect. What do you think? Yeah. It's not the DSM, but that's not my
DSM. Some of these red flags, which are very similar to how you spot a narcissist, and I'll just run through them really quickly because I want to talk about gaslighting. Jordan, I want you to tell us what gaslighting is, and we'll dive all into that. But some of the red flags and signs, they're super charming, like we said. Requires excessive admiration. They love to look the part, very status conscious. They want to help everyone. They want to help everybody because it's not about the help.
It's not helping.
It's about them. It's about the recognition for them. Very accommodating. You said before that addicts are narcissists.
Sure.
Self-centered. They expect everybody to agree with their point of view. They take advantage of others to achieve their own ends. Take advantage of others. Entitlement. They don't feel like they have to share info. If you find yourself doing everything on your own, chances are you're involved or engaged with a narcissist. Oh, we're going to do it together. But then you're like, wait a minute. What happened to together? How am I doing this by myself? Chances are you made an agreement with a narcissist. Very critical behavior. A lot of times they are opportunists and they are drawn to people who have a lot going for them. And what they work on is systematically tearing you down, breaking you down. All those things that they love are the same things they love to hate. And so that they work to systematically have critical behavior. Why are you wearing that? Why are you going there? Who is that? What are you doing? They want to tear you down. And oftentimes it can come across as being very mean.
And their children are a trophy.
The children
They're
are
not human beings, they're a trophy.
The children are a trophy.
Look how beautiful my babies are, but they don't know they're babies.
So look at that, pay attention to what's on Facebook. A lot of times, you see a lot of narcissists on Facebook. First day of school. Have you gone to the parent-teacher conferences? Do you go to the open house? Are you there for the pickup, for the drop-off? A lot of times it's just for show. It's not genuine and authentic when it comes to the things that matter.
And they totally take advantage of the fact that children kind of look up and adore them anyway, and that feeds right into what they need.
Exactly. That admiration, from children, that unconditional love is exactly what they bank on. And then they gaslight you. They gaslight you. They gaslight you. They gaslight you. What is gaslighting? Because I think it is so critical to dating a narcissist or being with a narcissist. Tell us what it is, Jordan.
For sure. So gaslighting, and before I get into the definition, it is a form of emotional abuse.
Yes.
It's essentially a tactic in which the person tries to gain more power by making this other person that they're in a relationship question their own reality. So, for just to give you a little bit of a background, it comes from the play Gaslight, where it's about a husband who what he does over time is he dims the lights in
The
their
gas
house,
lights.
and they're powered by gas. And the wife keeps asking, okay, are the lights dimmer? Are the lights dimmer? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Yeah, and
What
all
are
of a
you
sudden,
doing
and
about
shows the wife is feeling like she's completely, crazy, right? I hate to use that term, crazy, but that's how she feels, right?
Yeah.
So, and then he denies it, right? So
And
that's
he knows he's doing
and he
it.
knows,
he's doing it on
he's
purpose.
doing it on
It's
purpose.
deliberate.
He's doing it on purpose.
He's
deliberate.
doing it on purpose, right? To make her question her own sense of reality and cognition. So the reason why they do this is because once they begin to question their own reality, then they're relying on the narcissist to tell them what reality is. So it's a very, very, very abusive, very powerful technique. Victims of gaslighting, they're very confused, they're anxious, they're kind of always on edge.
It creates a tremendous amount
Exactly.
of anxiety.
Yeah, and then they end up isolating because they're so unsure of themselves, which leads to then depression. So there's so many things that go along with it. They, people when a narcissist gaslights, they're telling blatant lies. I mean, like in my example of that play, it's like, yes, the lights are getting dimmer, but nope, they're not. They're the same as they always are. I mean, it is that blatant. They deny something that they said, even though you have proof.
Yep.
So you will have a text message in front of you of what they said.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
And then when
What are
you
you
bring out,
talking about?
and sometimes when you
Or
reveal
they'll
the
twist
proof,
it. They twist it.
yes, but.
Yep.
And
News.
fake news, alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
They change it around. Oh, no.
Yep.
There's an excuse. There's a reason. There's a story. They're gaslighting you.
100%.
One thing I can say when it comes to narcissists, trust your instincts.
Yep.
Your gut.
Your gut.
Your gut is never wrong.
100%.
And we're going to talk about some of this too, but that's what, dating a narcissist, working with a narcissist, a lot of times it's about control. They see you in a status of power, of self-assurance, right? Because a lot of times narcissists don't target weak individuals. They go for the gusto. They go for the strong. They go for the people that they admire and idolize or think very highly of. And it's a process of tearing them down. So they go for that control. They seek codependence, and they attack your self-esteem. And so when it comes to rebuilding, separating yourself from a narcissist, please share the show, because I think this type of stuff is so important in terms of dealing, coping, and managing being with a narcissist. And moving on, one of the things that I will say is that oftentimes people who have been with narcissists feel like they have stayed in the situation longer than they should have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You had mentioned trust your gut, but if you've been in a relationship where you've been gaslighting has been so
The status quo.
the
Yeah.
status
So
quo,
prevalent.
You don't have a gut because it's like it's almost like a broken compass because something that you trusted it's not there anymore, and then like you said, you look to them for the self-esteem, and they can sprinkle some praise and some compliments along the way to
Right.
make you feel that okay, this is an okay relationship, and then it's like no, it's a bad, it's a good relationship.
Think about this.
So you're on
Right,
a
because
yo-yo.
the same person that tears you down will then build you up
Exactly.
temporarily.
Just enough
to keep you coming
to
back.
keep you coming back.
Absolutely.
Well, not even a
Absolutely.
person.
Yeah.
I've seen narcissists where they'll create complete chaos in a situation. And
Just to
then-
stir controversy.
Yep, and then solve the issue.
So exactly, create this. That
Mic
is
drop.
so-
Boom. I
Mic
did
drop.
that. I did that.
to be the savior.
Yep.
I have.
So think about
seen
this, because I think I think that's a very good point,
Yeah.
Reba, with respect to people who have been in narcissistic or sociopathic relationships for a long time. Think about the first people your narcissist or sociopath eliminated. Think about who they isolated you from. Because then many times they identify the strong ones and
knock
get
them
rid
off
of them first.
Yep.
Knock them off first. So sometimes there are people out there who are watching and sharing. They look to those people to kind of help you get out. Because sociopaths and narcissists are very good at identifying the enemies. And they're quick to vilify them, to make you question them. They gaslight you on those people because they want you to separate from those individuals. And so think about those people. You know, when you are desperate, when you're trying to get out, reach back out and reconnect with some of the people who can give you some clarity and insight if you don't have it on your own. If you can't trust your own gut, if you're still vacillating as to what the reality is for you, some of the first people who've been put on the fringes in this relationship can be the very people that will save you from this situation.
Well, and to go off of that too, they will try to make you think that people that are close to you are actually against you.
Right.
So they'll tell you, oh, so-and-so thinks you're crazy.
That's the gaslighting.
Exactly. That's
the gaslighting.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think one thing, and number one, I think if you've been in a relationship with these people, you have to be more gentle with yourself. All of the blame and all of the shame for, how did I stay in this for so long? I will tell you this, having kids makes you stay longer in a narcissistic or sociopathic relationship longer than you should. Having children, having a family, being married makes you stay longer for different reasons, and that's okay. You have to be very forgiving with yourself. You've been holding it together many times, often on your own. There's delusions of grandeur when you're dating or married to a narcissist because they want to destroy you. Like we've talked about, some of the slander of you, people around you. So when it comes to leaving a narcissist, what is your advice?
Run, baby, run.
A lot of people say that.
Can I say something?
Of course.
One of the hardest things, hopefully Jordan agrees, one of the hardest things as the therapist is to see incredibly beautiful women and men, but incredibly beautiful people who think that they are just the, worms in, just horrible people. And there are these incredible, beautiful butterflies of humanity. And
we're talking about inside and outside.
Inside and outside.
Yeah.
And the narcissists and the sociopaths have so torn them down. They think they are nothing. It is so hard. And so I want to say, can I tell a quick story?
Quick story.
This is a story from Desmond Tutu. How about that?
Quick story.
So, quick story. What Desmond Tutu talks about is one day a farmer went out in his chicken yard and he saw this really strange bird. And the bird was pecking at the ground and eating grubs just like the chickens. He said, well, it must be a chicken. And so day after day, he went out and fed the chickens, and this strange-looking chicken, and he was pecking on the ground and eating the grubs. One day his friend came and said, hey, you want to see my really weird-looking chicken? Okay. Went out to the chicken yard. And here was this bird pecking at the ground, eating the grubs just like the other chicken. And the friend said, that's not a chicken, that's an eagle. I said, no, it's a chicken. Look, it's acting like a chicken. I said, can I have that chicken? I thought, well, I didn't pay for it. Yeah, you can have the chicken. So the friend of the farmer took the bird, took the eagle, and climbed to the top of the mountain and let it go and let it soar. And what Desmond Tutu said is, that's how God is with us.
Yes.
I want to say, if who you're with makes you feel like a chicken, pecking at the ground and eating the grubs, God sees you as an eagle and wants you to soar.
Wow.
Want you to soar. Absolutely.
And can I add to that
Yes.
really quick? And I would say that if you are feeling like you're in a narcissistic relationship or you're feeling like you're in an abusive relationship, call your best friend.
Call that friend who they told you you
get
should
a
be friends with.
bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And then call your therapist, because
Yes.
it is not going to be an easy road. It may be a long road, but there is a way out. And
That's
that
true.
is what I would say.
It's true.
And I would add to that, be very strategic, because they cannot handle defectors. So you think they're challenging in the relationship if you try to leave.
They come for anybody
They
who
come
says
from-
against you being free.
Absolutely.
So a couple of points before we go. Leaving a narcissist, just go. Avoid the lingering goodbyes, the long drawn out goodbyes. Get out. Avoid contact, and when it comes to getting out, connect with people who can help you get out. Connect with people who will keep you safe, and in a good frame of mind. Be kind to yourself, treasure yourself. You are your own person, and this is your life. Keep yourself busy and focus on the future. Jordan, can you give us your contact information if people want to get in touch with you? You have a great therapy business, and I want people to know, who you are and how to reach you.
Absolutely. So I am actually located in a private practice in downtown Naperville. It is called Good Therapy. There are 5 therapists within our private practice, and we treat all different issues. So everything from personality disorders to addiction. We work with kids, couples, everybody.
And how do they contact you?
You can contact us at goodtherapycounseling.com.
Okay.
You can make an appointment online, and then we will get back to you as soon as we can to schedule an appointment.
Dr. Sandy, how do people reach you?
I have a practice in Bolingbrook. There are 3 of us. Myself, my son, who loves to work with children who have autism and ADHD, boys especially, and Chris Beamsley, who works with adults with ADHD, and
What's your contact? What's your contact?
630-771-0144.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys. Just your stories, your truths, your honesty, and your clarity. I think this has been a great show. Please share it. Thank you all so much for being here. We've got a book list that we'll share with you with our wrap stuff. So thank you all so much. Next week on Dana Being Dana, what is the number one thing that we take for granted? In my opinion, it is our health. And next week we've got a very important show. We're talking about cancer. Cancer has wreaked havoc on my village, my people, my friends, my family. Cancer is, we'll get to that next week. But it's been very brutal. And so we're going to be talking about cancer in a very real, raw, authentic way next week on Dana Being Dana. My village is a family of fighters, and we are fighting. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Rashida, for calling in. I appreciate you being here. You can be okay when it comes to dating a narcissist. You will be okay. You can soar like an eagle.
Yes.
So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in, sharing the show, and we'll see you next week on Dana Being Dana. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.